y'all ready to get this started. We got a lot going on today. Turn you around here. Take a little walk. Been doing some landscaping today. Trying to move some stone up off of the creek bed onto this ridge. Try to slow down the erosion there a little bit. Hey, Radiant, St. Louis, Missouri. Hello from Northeast Ohio. Got some decorative stones over here too. And then I started bringing in some of the blue shale from the creek bed down there. And I paved out my path going on up to the shelter itself. And that just keeps it from getting muddy and all that shit. Plus, on moonlit nights, this is gonna look like a glowing ribbon. That blue shale will glow in the dark underneath the moonlight. I'll get on up here to the build and get this show on the road. I've been out here all day, y'all. Been out here since early this morning. You see my kitchen here? Let me get y'all set up. And got a lot of work to do this evening. Like I said, I've been out here since early this morning working. Wood processing, hauling stone, hauling clay, hauling blue shale. Did a lot of landscaping stuff. If you look here behind me, I got these ridges that I'm building up around camp. You see the step? It's one ridge and then two ridge and then three ridge. So all of the punky wood, shit like that, all gets piled up on top of those ridges. And yeah, I'll show you what else I started today too. We're making some progress. We're gonna be doing the back wall today, and that'll bring us on over to the chimney. We got some South Texas. Awesome. I have exes in Texas. Hey, Rich. Glad you made it, buddy. We have some, we're gonna be building or finishing off the back wall tonight. We have some blue shale to fill in our cracks on our stone floor up here. And I brought in another pile of blue shale that I gotta bust up here to fill in these creases over here. You see that shit? Gotta do that little shit there. So a lot of work to do on the structure itself. But on down here, this is something that I started today. I actually started this like 8 o'clock this morning when I got out here. What I've been doing is I've been cutting weeds down out of the meadow, and I got them interwoven here. Now they're loose right now, but what I'll be doing is I'll be fashioning like a wooden needle, and I'll be threading those together, just weaving in between each and every stalk all the way across there, pushing them together nice and tight. And it's going to make me like a 4-foot panel, grass panel, of a very fibrous material that we'll be using on the roof. So I started making the roofing panels today, but this was a long process, let me tell you, because I had to go all the way up there in the meadow where those high weeds are. I was cutting down those high weeds, have a sit down here on the log. You can see the leaves that I stripped off. I stripped all the leaves down. The smaller pieces I got over here, I've been beating them down to get the fibers out of them to put into my cob. And I'll also be leaving some of those laying right across that log so they bend over as they're drying out. And I'll form them to put on the top of the shelter, so it'll go over the eave in the middle. But yeah, we got the first panel up here ready to be stitched together out of weeds that we had growing over there in the middle. So we will have the grass roof going up in probably 6 panels before it'll cover it all. Hey, Dixie. We got a little bit of, looks like we got a little bit of lag going on here. Hopefully everybody made out those panels all right and it didn't freeze up. I got a buffering signal right now on my end. I don't know what's happening on y'all's end, but we'll see if that catches up here real quick, and hopefully we don't have to restart. So if anybody in the live chat can let me know if this is streaming good, I'd appreciate that. We don't want everybody froze up on the other end if it's buffering on this side. That would just be annoying for you guys. All right, thank you, Rich. Appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this floor. I want to smooth out these cracks real quick. We'll do that, and I'll go ahead and turn you around so that fucking tripod's not in the corner, because it annoys the shit out of me for some reason. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and smooth out the floor here a little bit. Thank you, Radiant. Get these cracks smoothed out a little bit, and then we'll bust up that other side. before we get muddy doing that back wall. So this here I just brought up, I bring up the blue shale and this little piece of wood that I busted off of a hollowed out log over there, rounded out this side so it fits up nice and snug up against my chest, and I just haul all my shit up that way. It's just easier. But that little thing has come in handy. Hauling stone, hauling clay up from the riverbank, all that goes right in there, and it's just easy to carry. So let me smooth this shit out real quick and we can move on. I just keep having to add stuff to this to bring it up level with the stones as it's settling. So this is just blue shale. Some, you know, pebbles and stuff like that, you'll see different colors in it. Primarily blue shale because I want that pop and I want it to glow whenever the light's on it at night. There comes my train down through the valley. So as the stone floor's settling, I'm just adding more and more to it to keep it level. Eventually I won't have to add any more, it just is what it is. Real quick sloppy process here. Just push it down into the cracks and let it settle wherever it wants to settle. And then as it rains, since we don't have the roof on yet, it smooths it out even more, cleans all this off real nice and neat. Pushes all the sand and the smaller bits down lower so you get that good foundation, and it sort of cements itself. I actually brought up a little bit more than what I needed this round. Apologize for the train in the background. It'll pass here soon enough. There's actually a train stop right there. You can hop on that train and ride it. That's not too bad. Oh, damn, that's really echoing down through the valley tonight. Laying on that horn. Alright, that's a little sloppy, but it'll do. We'll go ahead and take a look at this real quick. And then we'll get over here and bust up this one corner. So yeah, just leveled it out like that. I got to do that like every 2 or 3 times I come out, level it out, and then let the rain wash it all off. Got this one corner over here to do that. We're going to knock it right quick. This stuff busts up really easy, so I can just use the ass end of my axe to do this. See that there? All those creases got to be filled in right quick. So get the bigger chunks out of the way. Push off what we can. See how it just falls apart in my hands? This stuff happened to wash up, and I went and grabbed it as soon as I seen it. Really need a clean house sometime. Probably after the house is actually built. I do have my beams sitting on stone. They're not sitting on the ground, so the bottoms aren't going to rot out or anything like that. It's actually coming along pretty decent there. Just to fill in those gaps. I might bring up a little bit more for back there. I can take some of these excess chunks and put them in there. But I got to be able to raise that up too. I got to bring it up about 1 inch. a little bit better than it was. My priority tonight is getting that back wall done. I brought in all this shit just to get us started. Front on that side. Hank, you still there, buddy? Are we froze up or what? Hey, Nature Bound. Hey, Nature, did it freeze up on your end? And get our technical difficulties out of the way here earlier. I'm still getting a buffer signal. On this side. I don't know why it is that way tonight. We didn't have problems on it before. You can see me now? Okay. We'll continue on, and I'll try to keep an eye on the chat window there. If it does happen to freeze up, I just have to... Okay. Yeah, it's just I'm out here. I'm not too far out, but I'm out. So we'll go ahead and get back here to the back wall and start doing that. Try to get that out of the way tonight. That's my priority, is to get this one side of the wall done, which means I'm about to get muddy. Get y'all set up. I did bring up a shit ton of clay this time. All I got to do is add water to it and mix it up a bit, and should be good to go on that. Shouldn't be too overly complicated. Let's see if we can set you up right here next to the pit for this first round. And all I'm going to be doing this roof, and that's when the issue started on my end. So if it's still happening on your end, or it gets annoying for you guys, just let me know and we'll restart the stream and come back, okay? Really heavy on the clay this time, nice and sticky. Last time it was a little bit too much organic material and it kind of cookie crumbled on me, so this is what I'm going to be doing right now. Making mud pies with huntsmen. This shit gets boring to watch after a while. I wouldn't blame you guys if you left and came back after I got this shit done. Oh, this stuff mixed up really good this time. It's like glue, which is what I wanted. All right, I gotta mix up some more cob here. So while I'm mixing this, if one of y'all that's still in the chat could let me know if we're streaming okay or if you guys are lagging, having any kind of trouble, I'd appreciate it. That way we can get that cleared up and nobody's suffering through it. Yeah, whenever we go down to the creek so I can wash my hands and we have our sit down where we can talk a little bit, I'll show you the clay deposit that's down there. I'm not sure how well you can make this clump out, but our clay here, you see how that blue shale's in there? See that blue tint to it? So it's kind of a blue shale, sandy mix. It's actually really good. Once I add water to this stuff, it just turns to glue. I've been actually wanting to try to find a pure sample, like a pure deposit of the just blue shale clay, because I want to try to fire it into a cup. I don't know how well shale will fire, but yeah, I've always wanted to do that. I found years ago I found a deposit, and I never picked any of it up. I was going to, never did, and then make up like a homemade kiln there at home, and see if I could fire that clay into a vase or a cup or a bowl or all of the above, depending on how much I could find. This is the first deposit of blue shale that I found since I found that pure deposit. That pure deposit got buried underneath a bunch of sand during a flood. It was beautiful though. It was like moonlight. I got obsessed with wanting to find that deposit again. I went back down there earlier this year actually, and thank you, Greg, I appreciate that. Went down there early in the year trying to find that deposit again, and I couldn't find it. It had been buried. So, lesson learned, if you find a blue shale clay, grab it while you can. So I got this pit dug right here behind the shelter. It's actually right below you guys, and that's where I'm mixing this clay that I took from the bank with water and making this nice paste. Very sticky, tacky, gluey. I get it to the right consistency, and then I can just slap it on there and we make a wall like this over on either side. Tedious process, but worth it. I'm very messy with this stuff when I first put it on, because if it's a little squishy, the weight of the wall kind of squeezes the excess out, and then I can take that excess and scrape it off and fill in my cracks and shit like that with it. So waste not, want not. The wall will reject what it doesn't need. And while I'm doing this, I'm pretty much encasing the entire stone in clay. Rain will come along and expose the stones themselves, and as they weather, and just having that extra layer on there and just let nature take its course, washing off the excess, makes it a lot sturdier, so you have that outer shell to it. I come up a little heavier this time. As I'm laying these, of course, I want to make sure each of my cracks in between are bridged with the next layer. Firing it on the outside, really don't need to. This stuff cures. I'll give you a close look at this other wall here in a minute. Once this stuff cures and it's this high up off the ground, it just turns rock hard. I mean, this is solid as shit. It's like concrete after a while. This is clay, sand, a little bit of gravel, real fine gravel, and plant fibers for tensile strength all mixed together in this, and then you're just basically making concrete. More in here, I'll get back on it. I want to check that other side. While you're doing this, you can't forget that you got two damn sides. Alright, so far so good. We'll get our excess out of here and use it before we mix up more. I'll go ahead and take a break here real quick so I can talk to you guys for a minute and welcome everybody that came into the room before I get muddy again. I got maybe 3 more layers before we get to that beam, so we'll go ahead down to the creek here right quick, and I'll wash my hands and I'll sit down with you guys for a minute before we move on with the rest of the build there. So just bear with me here. You don't need to see my ugly mug. You turn around. You'll get the tripod there in the corner. If I can turn you around, I got all this damn clay on my hands. There we go. A little bit of tripod there in the corner. I don't know if it annoys you guys, but it annoys the shit out of me. I do apologize for that. For those of you who missed it, as we're walking through here, we're working on a stone wall here tonight. I do have some bigger, see these big old flat pieces of stone? That's what I've been digging up out of the forest floor right here and laying my stone floor with. Got the old trail cam over here. We got a couple of bucks and some deer coming up into camp. We got the trail cam footage of them. Here we got our first panel for our grass roof up and kind of curing a little bit. That's got to dry out some. And then we just take kind of a wooden needle and line and just weave in between each one of those stalks all the way across, go up a few inches and repeat until we have us a nice tight panel. You see how it's kind of open there? That's just to fit the needle in between the two. As I'm pulling it or running that line through the first couple of times, that's when I push them real close together and make a nice tight grass panel. Bushcraft build does sit up there on the top of a hill at a fork between two, oh that's pretty, at a fork in the creek here. We got a tributary flowing down on this side, flows into our main creek there. Brought in some blue shale earlier today to line my pathway going down to the creek so it doesn't turn into a muddy mess. And then we did some landscaping down here at the bottom, just trying to prevent erosion while allowing the ferns and all of that stuff to grow on there to prevent erosion too, because we need those root systems in there. Come on down here to the creek, and I actually go down a little bit further than I normally do so I can show you guys where I've been harvesting this blue clay as soon as I get washed up here. Just give me a second here, guys. You see that blue shale bottom? Yep, lots of shale around here. I tell you what, man, this stuff is a pain in the ass to get washed off. Look at all this blue around here. Got all these different colors. I've been harvesting the shit out of this. That's what I've been using for the floor anyway. This right here was the deposit that I broke up earlier. Those were the two piles that I spread out on the floor up there. That stuff glows in the dark. I cannot wait for you guys to see this shit after dark. Then we got the this is the main creek going through the woods, and this woods is divided by 3 different gorges. So our bushcraft build is right here at the mouth of the first gorge. You go that way about a quarter of a mile and there's a second gorge going through the woods, and about the same distance there's a third going through the woods, and they all go west. We will be heading over, once we get this build done, we'll be heading over to the second, exploring that valley over there, which is absolutely gorgeous. It has waterfalls and everything along it, and we'll be building a second shelter over there in that second valley, and then probably moving on to the third to build a third shelter. So we're going to have a whole damn town in here by the time we get done, but that's years from now. It's going to take us the rest of this year just to finish off this one build that I got. So you see the blue shale edge to the bank here, stone edge, but then it goes up a little bit higher, and all of the topsoil here is sandy clay, and this happens to be sand and blue shale clay. So I just right here, it's almost a powder right here. Add a little bit of water to that shit though, and it turns to glue. So that's what we've been using for our build, rather than just making a traditional wood survival shelter. This emerald pool right here, this little green pool, we designed that early in the regular Huntsman series. You can see how I created this pool in the creek by manipulating the bank to where whenever we had floodwaters come through here, it spirals right there. So by adding stone and rounding out, causing this half moon over there, it caused a whirlpool right here, and it dredged all that out until we ended up with this emerald pool, which is a few inches deeper than the rest of the creek. Most of this creek only runs about 1/4 of an inch all year round, unless we get a heavy rain. This right here is about 8 inches, and it's holding minnows right now. We're not too far from the main river that runs through the county, so we can harvest our minnows out of here, take them over to the river, and we have bait, along with all the damn fish worms that we got roaming the area. Right here's the area where we built our sort of our bridge, and then we got the main waterway going right through those big boulders down into another pool and another pool and another pool. So yeah, pretty good deal. Here's where I harvest all the stone for the wall, trying to get this mouth cleared out so water does flow through here a little bit better out of this second tributary. The stone that I cannot use up on the build itself, I'm putting up here on the bank and landscaping the bank to prevent erosion. So, get back on up here to the build. That's the grand tour of the creek. Got our wood processing area right here. These are beams that we'll actually be throwing on the shelter here in the not too distant future. Once we get this wall done, then it's all about laying the beams on, getting them on. Then we'll be putting a cob mix, same as the stone walls. We'll be putting cob in between all of these cracks in the beams. They'll be fitted a little bit tighter, but it'll all be sealed up with cob, and then the grass roof on top of it. So it's going to be like 3 different layers. So you got the wood beams to hold everything up, then you got the cob, and then you got the grass on top of that. Should be a pretty good insulator and give us a relatively good heat dome. Here's our mixing pit. As I told you guys earlier, I'm just taking the clay that I harvested from the bank, adding a little water to it right there in the mixing pit. That's what you guys are sitting over top of. And then we throw it right there on the wall. This wall here, we wrapped this up, what was it, a week ago, I guess. And like I said, rock hard. Once this stuff cures, it's affected by rain, of course. It gets real shiny in the rain, but the rain is not going to penetrate all the way through. So once this has time to dry, the core is always going to be rock hard like that, even if the outside gets a little shiny from the rain. Outside looking in at the floor. Man, I need to sweep my living room. Got quite a bit of stone left there to go, and about 2 hand widths on the old wall before we're moving on to the getting the fireplace built. Set y'all back up over here for a second. Get everything adjusted. And before I get muddy again, I'm gonna get a drink. Yeah, it is a shit ton of work. Doing a build like this, and that's why I wanted to do it live, to be honest. Doing a build like this is a shit ton of work. I've been out here all day long, and it feels like I ain't made a damn dent. That's why it's really important to get the wall done. Focus on getting the wall done tonight. That way it can set up. We can get the chimney put in, which is going to be easy compared to the damn wall because it's such a small space to build up. It just goes a little bit higher than the wall as far as the chimney goes, you know. But once we get this other side done, then we can focus more on the walls themselves and getting this thing closed in. It is a shit ton of work, but that's, like I said, that's why I wanted to do it on the live streams, because this gives you the most real perspective that I think any YouTuber can give you as far as building a structure like this. You can go out there and you can watch a lot of edited videos, you know, where they cut out the workload, the boring parts, and you know, they give you a little bit of B-roll, but for the most part, all of the work is cut out and you just get to the product itself. Especially the end product. This is a whole different type of project. I mean, I don't put hands on the structure. I can bring materials up to the build, but I cannot add anything to the structure until we're filming live. So we've been doing that regularly here on Sunday nights, starting at 5, which is a pain in the ass. And I realized that today because I had all this shit ready to go 3 hours before I could start live streaming. So, and I really wanted to just had my hands on the structure building it, but I didn't do that because I made the rules and I'm trying to stick to the rules. You guys should, you know, be able to see just what I'm doing here. That's what I'm saying. You cut out all the shit, all the boring stuff, and that's what you end up with is 20 minutes of there it is, or you speed it up sort of like a time lapse, which kind of holds everybody's attention a little bit better. You know, people have the attention span of a fucking gnat. If it's more than 3 minutes, a lot of them ain't watching. So in order to hold their attention, you just cut out all the shit. So like I said, we got, I don't know, 2 feet left to go on that wall over there. Nature Bound, I love your shit. I still go over there and watch your channel. I try to watch everybody. Burnwood, I stop in at Pooja Studios every once in a while, say hi to them. I might not stay long. I'm not over it. Everybody goes to Pooja Studios live streams because they're trying to get subs. I'm not trying to get subs. The subs are coming just fine. I'm just trying to share the content, you know, trying to get the content out to more people. Been really active on Reddit this past week. Reddit is a hard place to push YouTube videos. There's a lot of people over there just like reading, like old school reading, and they don't want, they think that if you're sharing YouTube videos on the forums, then you're spamming them trying to promote your channel. I'm not doing that. To me, I don't think there's a damn bit of difference between writing out an article, like typing it out on Word and posting it to Reddit, or filming a damn video where you can actually see it for yourself and you're not just trying to imagine this shit in your head. I don't care what media you're using to share your knowledge or pass on something, especially if it's something positive. Fucking use it, whether you're a photographer or making videos or writing or whatever. Yeah, it is hard because you meet so damn many people on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is a massive community. I'm meeting new people almost every fucking day. It is hard, but I stick with those who stick with me. If somebody's in my comment section all the time, those are the guys that I'm going to go watch. If they, because they're not going to let me forget that they're there. The people right here in the live stream, if you guys got channels and you're not just here looking at my ugly mug, you know, doing this shit, you guys are the ones that I'm going to go see. So whenever I get back home after I do these live streams, because the live streams go on forever, this could go on for like 2 or 3 hours, I always go back and I watch my own live stream because I don't catch everybody's comment in that window on my iPhone. They disappear after like 5 seconds. So I do go back and I read everybody's comments in that live stream. So if I happen to miss your comment, if you ask me a question or something like that, I do go back and I read the live stream comments and pay attention to what everybody's doing and who's here with me. And then I'll go check out your channel and, you know, try to return the favor for y'all hanging out with me. If you want to hang out with me, I'll hang out with you. Now we're going to break a rule here on YouTube. Everybody's paranoid about this kind of shit, but here I am drinking out of a whiskey flask. But this ain't whiskey. I got it in a Jack Daniel's flask, but this is actually scotch. I'm drinking scotch out of a flask tonight. And it was well deserved, I gotta say, after the day that I fucking had. So we're drinking the scotch out of a Jack Daniel's flask, and we're about to smoke a cigarette before we get muddy again. I'm not promoting smoking. I'm promoting getting rid of mosquitoes without starting a fire. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up. I should have enough clay here to do 2 more layers. Yeah, I should be able to finish off the wall with what I got. We're going to give you guys a different perspective this time, though. I'll set you up over here so you get a little bit different perspective of this wall building bullshit that I got going on. And I am sorry that this wall is so fucking time consuming. It's time consuming for me, and I know it makes the live streams a little less action packed than what some people might like, but this is the process. And we're trying to share the entire process. So, yeah, I'm gonna get muddy again. We're gonna try to get this up to the beam, okay, guys? So, hey, Jay, let me go ahead and get some of this mixed up, and we'll get that up to the beam. Once we get this up to the beam, we can move on and do some other shit. I'm excited to get this wall done. And like I said earlier, I've been out here since like early morning. I came out here, I had my breakfast out here. I sat down and I started making the grass panels for the roof. Did a shit ton of wood processing, all of this stuff. Right? I'll stick with the Sig and Scotch. I'm tired as hell, but I don't like leaving projects unfinished. My goal for the day was this fucking wall, so we're gonna get this wall done here real quick. Let me get this clay mixed up, y'all hang out. And if you can, while I'm mixing this up and slathering this shit on real quick, I cannot share this out on social media from where I'm at. For some reason, YouTube's not letting me post this on Twitter or Facebook or anything. Yes, that was HB that you saw in the last video, the Huntsman Buck. Little quick story behind the Huntsman Buck. When I first started filming the Huntsman series, the main Friday night episodes, I was on this northern valley that's miles from here. And as I was first exploring that area, I'd never been down there before. I was trying to find a spot to build a camp, right? And as I'm walking through there, this is early spring, late winter, early spring. I seen a herd of deer down by the creek getting a drink of water, and I seen this damn buck with a rack on him that looked like God's crown. It was so damn high, it was ridiculous. Not real wide and not a lot of points to him. He's only a 10 point, but his rack is so high and so thick that it looks like wood grain. He has the most distinctive looking rack I had ever seen. So I ended up tracking the little sumbitch up to a different woods. I tracked him all through that spring and then through the summer, and then that summer and that fall I got his pattern down, him and his entire herd. He ran with 2 other bucks for the most part of the winter, and he had about 6 or 8 does with him. So I got to know that herd like through the first year of filming the Huntsman series, and we were out there all the time with that one buck. And they got so used to me being out there filming with them that they let me get closer and closer and closer. So everybody that's watched the series from the beginning, get any sheds from HB? I have not got a shed from HB, but I did get 2 sheds from the boys that run with him. Whenever shed season came around, I went up there and I was hell-bent on getting that rack. At least one side of it. I would have been tickled shitless. So I tracked this deer for over a year. We set out snares for his rack. We set out food for him. We had trail cams running all over the woods. And then I had these 2 sons of bitches come in there. They were messing with my trail cam. They were going through looking at my footage to see where that buck was at, and then they would delete the images, or they were tampering with the cam. So I had to put a lock on it and keep moving it around. And they were using my knowledge of the herd and what I was doing out there to compete with me on the shed hunt. When the shed season came around, oh yeah, beautiful. When shed season came around, there was 4 of us after HB's rack, and I did not land it. Honestly, that guy, he's retired. The guy that was up against me for that rack, he's retired. He can be out there every day. I work my ass off every fucking day. I don't have time to be out in the woods every day because I, get the day job and, all this other shit going on. He just beat me to it. So I got so pissed off about that I found me a spot, private land. That's where I'm at now to do this project. We got a couple of bucks in this woods, but they are extremely flighty, and I have nowhere near the relationship with these bucks that I do with HB. I wanted to revisit HB. I wanted to go see how he was doing this year. I ain't been up in that area in months, so the last couple of videos that I put out, I went up there. Got a little frustrated at the beginning trying to track him down because I didn't know where he was at. I'd lost track of his pattern. I don't know what his pattern is this year. But I went down into that gully, and there's this hidden glade that sits right on a fork in the creek. The creek forks in kind of like an island right there. Real heavy cover, real green, like this bright emerald green. And I'll be damned if HB and those does and fawns, I mean, anybody that's seen that footage There is no way that I could explain it to you. You really have to go to the channel and check out my last couple of videos so you can see that scene where HB comes walking through there, and that's the first time that I got to see that guy this year. Really happy that he's okay, that he's got a nice healthy look to him. It does look like he has some lice on his fur. He had a gray patch on his back. That's a type of lice that they can get, and usually it'll clear up in the wintertime. That lice will die. It's just an irritation right now. It's not life-threatening or anything like that, but it makes him look kind of ugly. But HB did come through that video. We know that he's safe and that he's okay. Nobody killed him or anything like that. And he's got a beautiful rack on him this year, just like he did last year. So, yeah, that's the story about HB. That deer is a legend. I'll do anything that I can to protect that deer and make sure he's happy and healthy. And I'm kind of debating on whether or not I'm going to go out and try to get his rack during shed season next spring. That's something I have to think about if I want to go up there and get into that competition, because it is a fierce competition trying to get that rack. But whoever does, man, that is the crown of sheds. As far as my area goes, bucks around here don't get monstrous. You get 10, 12 points. That's about as big as they go. And that's just because I'm in Northeast Ohio. The food around here is scarce. There's no farmland or anything like that. They're eating blackberries and pine needles. So they're not going to get monstrous, but they do get some very unique racks. I did get 2 sheds off of the herd, but I didn't get HBs. If I go back to get HBs, you know, that'll definitely be part of the series. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get back to this right quick. So like I was saying there before we got into the story of HB, I can't share this out on Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. So while I'm mixing this cob up, if you guys could do that, just share it out, let everybody know that we're streaming, that we're trying to have a good time here. Got some stories going on. We're going to hang out for a little while tonight. I'm going to have to get you guys plugged in here for too much longer. Get you wired up so the battery don't go dead or anything like that. But our priority right now is getting these stones up to this beam right here. That's what I got to do, and I got to get messy to do it. So, yeah, if you could share this out on Twitter, Facebook, let everybody know we're live streaming, since I can't do it for whatever fucking reason. YouTube stopped me from doing it. I used to be able to share on Twitter. Like, as soon as I went live, it had that little link, share, you know. Now I can't do it. I don't know if it's a new YouTube thing or what. Appreciate that, Nature Bound. All right, guys, I'm going to get back to this. You guys hang out, talk to each other. Try not to, you know, get in any fights in the chat room or anything like that. I'm going to get muddy again. We'll get this wall up. Mixes up quick and easy. We like that. We like easy. That's why we do builds like this, because they're so fucking easy. Don't need it real thick in between the stones, but do want to make sure that we go back like this crease here and fill all of that shit in. All these overhangs have to be filled in after we get the stones up. And we kind of put that casing on the front. Helps protect it while it's curing, and gives it a lot more stability. Really can't get impatient with this. Like, I want to get this damn wall done, because it's been such a long process hauling the stone up here, getting the cob mixed up right. But if you go too fast and you're not paying attention to all these little details, these overhangs and cracks, it'll come back to bite you in the ass later on. Gotta have a little bit of an offset there. If a tree falls in the woods, I just heard a big ass fucking crash right behind me. It does make a sound. That one's a little bit thinner, so we got to bring that up some. Go ahead and put another stone here before we make that next layer, so it's all level. Damn rock in there. Now we got a level surface to work with. Always going real heavy right next to the wood beams. That's where it cracks the most. The wood will pull away from the cob, and you get that drafting in there. Just like houses, corners are always a pain in the ass. I had a friend from back home put a message out on Facebook. She's got a problem with bats in her house, and she's trying to find a way to kill these bats. Here in Ohio, you can't kill them. It's illegal to kill any kind of bat in Ohio. They all got problems. Every species of bat has a problem. So I told her, you can't kill them. You gotta either catch them and turn them loose, or use like a sonic repellent or something like that. And she flipped the fuck out on me. I told her it was illegal. She said she didn't care. She would claim self-defense. They broke into her house. Let me get back on this side here. And look at my stone that I'm working with. Yeah, I can take a look at this other side where it's all squishing out. That end piece there needs a little work. Mud pie. It's actually kind of relaxing doing this. I don't know why. This is the kind of shit that our mothers used to get really pissed about when we did it as kids. Now we out here doing it professionally. I ain't no damn professional. Oh, let's see what we got here. Let's pack that in. Not looking too bad. Making progress, inch by fucking inch. But this has, I need a lot of surface work done on this. I'm trying to work on the height and not the surface, but that's a sloppy way to do it. Should be doing it all the way around as you go up. But I'm impatient tonight. It's been a long day. Up a little higher. I got it up this high before I ran out of water. I just put my last bit of water in there, so we're gonna have to go down to the creek here in a bit and grab us some more water. Looks like we do have enough clay to make it up as high as we need to go though. I hope. It'd be a real pisser if I got all the way up to the last layer that I needed to wedge up in there and I ran out of cob. I think we'll be all right though. Bit of a bridge there that I need to do. Do that right quick. I brought it up level again. Don't like that big old gap in there. Fill that in. Apologize to anybody that came in while I'm doing this. We had to go get more water here in a bit, so I'll be able to catch up with the chat then. close. Closer. Yep. We're close, guys. We're close. Aside from all the detailing that we're going to end up doing. Oh, it's hot. Alright. We're going to see if we can scrape enough out of the pit to get one more layer done. I think we need 2 more layers and this wall will be up. Start using a lot of the excess that's squished out down there. Scrape that off, get it in the cracks, add it to the top. At least whenever we go down and get our last bit of water that we're going to need for today, y'all get a good view of this. Let's see how close it gets us. Yeah, we got one more layer and maybe a couple of fieldstones here in the corner because we got that arch in the beam. But one more layer down here is going to get us up, and then we might have to, about halfway across, just put some fieldstones in there. Got plenty of clay left to do it, but we are out of water. So we'll take our break here and take a good look at the progress on this so far. And then I can catch up with you all there in the chat. So we're gonna head on down to the creek here real quick. Not a bad bit of progress, right? So there's the wall that's secured, froze up. Hopefully it comes back. We got the wall that's cured and the wall that's wet. Okay, thank you, nature. We don't want that to be a hassle for anybody. But yeah, one more layer and a couple of fieldstones and our wall will be up. So I said we'll head down here to the creek real quick. I froze up there because my iPhone let me know that I was at 20%. So I gotta get hooked up to the backup battery pack here in a minute, and then we can keep on going until we finish off this little adventure for this evening. And then just heading down here to the creek to get washed up again. Now I have to run back up here and grab my bottles. We'll probably need 2 bottles of water yet. So I'm gonna set you guys here, let you have the view of the creek. I'll go get the battery pack, get you guys hooked up after I get cleaned up. We'll fill our water up, and then we'll be moving on from there. Okay? Sound good? So just give me a second here to get cleaned up and refit with what we need to do to keep the live stream going for a little bit longer. That's step 1. That'll be more than enough water for what we need to mix up yet. We still have to do that last layer, and then after we get the last layer on, we have a lot of creases and all that shit to smooth that real quick. Shouldn't take long. We'll give you guys a different point of view here as we're going back up, and then again after we get back up to the build. Try to mix it up for you guys a little bit so you're not just seeing a stagnant image. Path is starting to glow already. Sun's getting real low. So to round this out, I'm just gonna set you guys back here so you'll have this perspective of the build while I finish up the wall, and let's start working on the inside creases. That pretty good? There we go. So I'm just gonna go back up there and mix up my last bit of cob to do that last layer, and start filling in the creases. Anything that's you know, showing daylight through it, you want to get covered up. Got to do that now so it sets up nice and even. Let me get you guys hooked up here real quick. Sorry about that. And like I said, I'm just gonna go back there and start doing it. Get this wrapped up. It'll only take me a couple minutes to finish off that last layer. Okay, guys. Got a few little nooks and crannies there that we got to fill in yet, but the wall is up and she's stable. So I got just the slightest little bit of cob left in there. I'll take you guys on up in here into the house a little bit. Got see that gap there? I got a couple of gaps there that I got to get filled in, and I want to make sure that they're filled in before I call it a day on that wall. Got enough cob back there to make that up. Back now for you. Was it lagging there again? Little bumpy ride here this morning on the old live stream, isn't it? Apologize. Like I said, I'm not extremely far out, but we do seem to be having a few more technical difficulties than we normally do on our live stream. Anyway, I got one big gap there that I need to fill in down there at the bottom. I got enough cob back there to do that, and then we're going to wrap it up on this wall for the day. That'll be it for the work on the wall today. Not looking too bad. Well, I got a second here. Are we still streaming okay, Nature? Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right, so go down here and get washed up. That way I can actually handle my equipment without getting too fucked up. But that's looking pretty good, right? At least we got our fireplace laid out now. So we'll bring in some small stones to level out the edges of those walls as we're building the fireplace up. And yeah, I think it's looking pretty good too. So go ahead and head down here to the creek one more time, get washed up, because I've been making fucking mud pies all night long. Just wash up here right quick, and then I'll have some time to spend with you guys until I call it a day. Let me get washed up. Gotta be honest though, I'm feeling kind of like a wild animal out here. I've been out here too fucking long today. So for those of you just coming in, I'll give you a little tour on the way up. I did some landscaping with the stones today, trying to prevent erosion off of this tributary. Those there are just decorative, because I'm a Martha fucking Stewart like that. We got a blue shell trail that we put in here today, and it only took me 5 hauls in my little quarter round log up there, my little piece of hollowed out tree trunk that I've been using to haul all this stuff up with. Leveled out the floor again for the third time. Got our little corner over there sort of patched up. And our back wall is looking pretty fucking good. So it'll take almost a week for that to cure and dry solid and get to be about like this. This has been curing for a week, and you can still see that the cob mixture is still curing. You see those wet spots in there? It's still curing, still cracking. All of that shit is gonna crack. If you're building with this kind of stuff, it's gonna crack on you. You just gotta go back over it layer upon layer upon layer as it settles and the stones settle into place and all that shit. You're gonna get cracks. That's not a bad thing. Those are just where you need to put another layer of cob on there to patch it all up. But it's solid all the way through. It's good and sturdy. That's just the cob shrinking as it dries. But like I said, that's been setting up for a week, and it's still holding moisture. So it's got a long way to go before it's fully dry. This over here just got started on that side. So obviously she has a lot of surface area that needs smoothed out. This overhang down there needs all filled in, and I'll use smaller stones to wedge up in there with cob and kind of build a wall inside the wall right there to make sure that that's supported. But right now she's stable. She ain't going nowhere. So we can leave her like that for right now, and then I'll have to come out again probably tomorrow or the day after or something like that and mix up more cob, and I'll encase the whole damn thing. I'll put a front on all of it. Cover the surface of the stones and everything. It just is a full casing, and then as it weathers, the stones start getting exposed and it starts looking like that. So this here had a full casing on it. It was damn near smooth with the casing that I had on it, but then rain came through, washed off the excess, and this is the pattern that we came up with after Mother Nature got her hands on it. So that's the kind of look that I'm aiming for as far as this wall goes. Plus it gives me all these little nooks and everything. I could put little candles on there or whatever all the way up through there. When I get up here to the top, I'll actually be shaving off the top of that beam to where it's a level surface, a flat surface, and that's where we go wood the rest of the way up. So we have a stone firewall here for the fireplace. We'll go wood the rest of the way up, and then on the outside of the wood there'll be stone and clay going up as far as the chimney goes. That'll be a whole different unit, so a lot of work to do there. Did bring more stone up for that wall than what we needed. Let's sit you guys back here for a minute. I'm gonna go grab some stuff from back there in the back, and I'll be able to sit down and chat with you a little bit. Excess falling off there, but that's okay. It's going to squish out some. Alright. Now we can settle in for an evening talk. And I can pay attention to the window there so I can actually have some one-on-one time with you guys before I call it a day and get my ass out of the woods. Thank you, Dixie. A lot of work today. Before the live stream ends, we'll take one last tour, look around at all of the things that we got done today as far as the landscaping goes, and we're starting our roofing panels. For those of you who came in late, if you want to see how I'm building the grass roof on this. I do have a woodworking area over here that I'm cutting beams up. I just cut them length, and then now that that's up, we can start closing this damn thing in. So I can get all of my wood processing done in my next phase, really. Which is a pain in the ass. I hate wood processing. I really hate wood processing scenes. Like, I'm not filming just me sitting here sawing a fucking log all day long. But I'll get all that cut, and then we can fill in these last two panels, make sure everything's fit nice and neat. And yeah, it's going to have a grass thatch roof. and I'll show you that. I don't know if you was here earlier when I showed it earlier. The wood beams will actually go all the way up, and they'll be sealed with cob. So you got a wood roof on here. The grass thatching on top of that is basically a false front, but it is an extra layer of insulation. So the material that I'm using, I can actually show you that real quick. 1 second. The plant material that I'm using to build the panels for the roof, they have a real fibrous outside, and on the inside, if I can get this broke apart a bit, sort of give you a cross section of the material that I'm using here. Yeah, it would have been. That's all I'm doing is building a clubhouse. So I don't know how well you'll be able to make that out because of the lighting, but the inside of this plant, the outside is real fibrous, but the inside is filled, there you can kind of see the texture of it, with a kind of foamy texture to it. It's just got that mallow inside of the stalk. So the stalk is filled with that foam. Basically, it's Mother Nature's version of foam insulation. So using this particular weed, one, it gives me the fibrous material that I need for the cob, and I mix this stuff in with the cob to help give it some tensile strength. But on the inside, that inside there being textured like that and having that foam on the inside makes this a perfect insulator. It's also really good as bedding, like a bed mat. If you want a little bit softer, all you do is you take these here and you make your mat just like I'm doing with that over there. Yes. You make your mat just like I'm doing like that over there. You just weave it all together, and then you take a rock and you kind of break this up a little bit so it's softer, but you still got that interior to it, so it gives it a little elasticity, and you make your bed pad like that just out of natural material. Good installation. It's also fairly flammable, so that's why I'm having the wood and cob between the fireplace and the grass roof. I think I got one more rule to break here on YouTube before we can take our final tour and start packing up and head out of the woods for the evening. The goal was to get this side of the wall done. We did get that done. We got the floor leveled out again. We got the moonlight trail coming up to the shelter all done. That was a good deal. When I was filming next Friday's episode of Huntsman earlier this afternoon, before the live stream. And in that episode, I started talking about ancient civilizations and how they built all the shit that they built. Like, I'm putting in all this fucking work on just this tiny ass little structure. They built entire cities, and I don't know how they did it. And it's not just the architecture of ancient cities. You look at the architecture of, I think I mentioned the Scottish Highlands in the episode, how they were building their houses out of whatever stone was available and turf, turf houses. And they put in some fucking thought to those turf houses. Those turf houses stand for thousands of fucking years with no maintenance. And it's great insulation. It's the perfect protection in that type of environment. They just using what was available to them. Same thing that I'm doing here. But I'm doing this on a live stream, so you get this really realistic perspective of how much of a pain in the ass just putting it together is. I don't even film gathering the material to do this stuff. What you guys see on a live stream is just the assembly part. It isn't gathering it all up. Hauling all of that stone up here was some back-breaking work. Cutting these beams to length and getting everything somewhat right. Pain in the ass. I don't film that stuff. What you see in the live stream is just, putting all the pieces together after it's all gathered up. But I think she's looking pretty good so far. Of course, we're only doing this once a week. We're only out here building on this for one afternoon a week. and then, you know, streaming the assembly part in the evening on Sunday night. Sunday night at 5, that's our live stream. That's sort of the thing right now. But I think in the near future, we're going to have to do an earlier live stream. Like, we'll start live streaming at 3, and we'll live stream for as long as we can, like all the way through the evening, because when we start doing the roof and stuff like that, I don't want to have panels up there that aren't tied down right. You know, I run out of daylight, so I'm going to have to start the streams earlier in the daytime. And here Huntsman is again, drinking and smoking and shit on fucking YouTube, and you're not supposed to do that. It's not PC. Drinking, smoking, cussing, you know, hanging out with Huntsman. Hee Haw. I used to watch Hee Haw with my grandparents when I was growing up. Hee Haw, and it was always followed by Grand Ole Opry, and we watched Grand Ole Opry too. And some of the cast members from Hee Haw were going to be on Grand Ole Opry that same night, so they'd go from one show to the next. It was pretty cool. I think before Hee Haw came on, it was Dukes of Hazzard. And I was watching Dukes of Hazzard like fucking like going to church. Watching Dukes of Hazzard was like going to church. Made every episode of Dukes. Hee Haw was a good show. The original Dukes was a good show. Probably kind of a bad influence on me as a kid, watching the Duke boys do all the shit that they did. But it was, I don't know, it was kind of tame back then. All the TV was tame back then. Imagine if a series came out that was, you know, kind of like the Duke boys, where it's just two brothers just going out there bootlegging and doing whatever they needed to do to get by. I think the closest television show that I binge watched and I caught every episode of that got close to that kind of genre was Justified. Justified was an awesome fucking series. You watched Daisy? Yeah, everybody watched Daisy. Daisy was the thing. I think me and Rich probably lost our virginity to Daisy Duke. That's just the way it was when we were boys. I think everybody that was born around the same time I was born lost their virginity to Daisy Duke. Well, I appreciate that, Nature Bound. I am currently unemployed, looking for a job. That's what I do all the way through the fucking week. Got fired from my last job. Got fired by the boss. Going through the whole breakup thing, and then fired by the boss, and then I got sick because of drinking water from the creek, and oh my God, Farrah Fawcett. Yeah, last month was a hell of a month for the old Huntsman, but we kept it positive. We tried to learn something from it. I'm still out here in the middle of nowhere drinking fucking scotch out of a Jack Daniels whiskey flask and smoking and cussing on YouTube, so it didn't slow me down none. And everything worked out with Courtney. You know, we're getting along really good now. So all that's over with, done, past. Trying not to look back on it. I really don't talk about relationship stuff on YouTube too much. But Courtney's okay. She's doing good. A little tired. Our biggest stress here of late is our oldest dog went blind. So we're taking care of a blind dog and trying to lead her around and all of that shit. Good times, good times. Let me get over here. I'm going to start getting this stuff packed up, guys. So let me turn you around so you're not looking at my ass. Well, you're going to be looking at me because I'm going to be over there in a minute. Go get the whole kitchen area there cleaned up and start packing this stuff up before it gets too dark. Mentioned this on a previous I think it was on a previous stream. I don't carry my axe on the outside of my backpack. You know how you see guys carrying their axe like this? I don't like it being exposed like that. What I do is I turn my axe upside down so all the weight is on the lumbar section of my back, my lower back, and I tuck it right down into the back sleeve of my backpack so it acts like a spine, almost like an internal frame, and the handle goes right up my spine. Plus I have all that weight on my lower back, so while I'm out here climbing this terrain and doing all the heavy lifting and shit that I do, I have that lumbar support right from my axe. So I'm using my axe as a kind of a chiropractic thing. And then on top of the axe, I take my grill that I'm always using out here, and I slide it right down on the back side of the axe, so it's a flat surface against my back. And there's my internal frame for my backpack, just like that. Nothing fancy. We just try to think it out and use what works. Get all my stones together for the old oven. Don't need water anymore. And just like that, camp is packed. This here I leave out here. I left this out here on accident one time, and I came back out here and the sumbitch was fine, so I figured, well, why am I carrying it in and out? I'm gonna need it the next time I'm out here. So all I do with this is I just take my basket here that I use to carry all the stuff up in, lay it underneath the basket and lay it on up there by the wall, so it's kind of protected from the weather a little bit, but it doesn't make much fucking difference, to be honest. There's the old kitchen area all cleaned up. I wish dishes at home were as easy to clean like that. It's all tucked away nice and neat. Shut off some, damn. Oh, I'm a messy fucking housekeeper right now. That's okay. Well, the next time I come out here, I probably need to haul up like 3 or 4 more loads of fucking blue shell to get this floor leveled out. Again, it's a process. It's got to settle. And the settling just takes time. Everything out here takes time. Even the frame. When I put the frame up, I made sure that frame was just left alone for a couple of weeks. Just so it got its feet in the ground. Everybody trying to slap their shoulders up quick as shit and wonder why they fall down first time it rains. You don't give the damn thing time to settle. So you get cracks and you get stress on certain beams and not others. And yeah, you just gotta be patient. This is gonna be a permanent thing. I mean, by the time I get this done, this shelter is gonna stand long after I am gone. Yeah, I'm just taking my time with it and letting it settle. I think she's looking pretty good. And now we got light and dark back there. You know, the tripod that I'm using, let me show you this rig. I'll show you what I did to be able to live stream and not have to worry about it, because I'm always running around and shit. And sometimes I live stream night hikes, so this is how I did it. I took a car mount and I cut the suction cup off of the car mount, and then just ran that down through this old tripod, so I can bend that any way that I want. And I have the foam grips for my iPhone. So this is the redneck rig that I came up with to mount my iPhone. And whenever I have the iPhone mounted to this, I always have it out away from this back plate. That way it gets airflow behind it and keeps the iPhone from heating up. And these foam pads on each side, just like being in your car, they can take a bump and your iPhone's not gonna move. So that's the rig that I come up with to live stream on the iPhone outside and not have to worry about it. Easily adjusting, and that's a real lightweight aluminum. It's like $5. Now the other camera that I use for filming the main episodes, this thing is a tank of a camera. This is my normal camera, and that's the tripod for it. I mean, that's a beast of a tripod. I put a piece of paracord over there so I could sling it over my shoulder and carry it like that. But that's my regular filming camera, and then just filming on the old iPhone. Light and dark, left and right. Get that extra stone out of there. I don't think I'm going to need it for anything up here. Probably just throw it back down into the creek. Let that wall settle up, and then we'll be coming in here, probably using the machete after this cures good, and shaving this off to a flat surface so we can build on top of that beam. But yeah, having those rock walls up, I'll tell you what, as soon as they set up, this thing's rock solid. And then we got the wood beams in the front, but I'm actually thinking about building rock walls in these triangles here. All in all, good progress for the day. Long fucking day, yo. Long fucking day. I'm gonna finish this smoke, and I'll pay attention to that chat window if you guys got any comments, questions, or and such. Feel free to ask them now while I got my eyes on the chat window and I can actually see what you're saying and it doesn't look like I'm annoying you. Progress on the build, progress on the build. So next time we come out, we're going to be looking to start closing this thing up. So fireplace, really not a necessity right now. I got to get the roof on. Got to get that back triangle back there filled in so I can run the chimney up after I get the fireplace built. Can't really have smoke just going up through the structure. Grass roof, that'll be ready probably, I'm thinking 3 weeks. 3 weeks and the roof should be done, I'm hoping. That just depends on how much I can get out here and actually fucking work. And not, you know, landscape and dick around. I'm in Northeast Ohio. I'm pretty close to the Pennsylvania line. And I'm starting to feel pressure right now. Because summer's wrapping up. We're coming into early fall. Whenever we come into early fall, I start thinking about deer hunting. And deer hunting takes up quite a bit of time because you got to track them and, you know, all the stuff that you prepare to do for deer hunting. And I don't hunt in Northeast Ohio. I go down further down south to hunt deer. Up here, there's just not enough land to hunt on. It's just too competitive. I go back down home and, you know, farm country to hunt down there. I go down and hunt with my dad. So I'm hoping that my dad's getting a little bit older. He has some health problems. I'm hoping that I can get out with him and hunt with him one more time this year. So whenever, well, that's not too bad. So yeah, whenever hunting season comes around, I'm going to be thinking about hunting deer and traveling down south to go on one last hunt with my dad before his health just gets too bad and he can't go out no more. And that'll be his last romp as far as deer hunting goes. I'll be out with compound bow hunting. I don't hunt with a rifle or anything like that. Those are sissy sticks. I go out with a compound bow. Every once in a while I see a bushcrafter out with a longbow or something like that. I never see one out with a compound bow. Like, get with the times, man. Everybody's using a compound bow now. I don't even know if you can get the poundage up on a fucking longbow or something, whatever the fuck it is they're using to make it legal. Compound bow, no problem. My compound bow, I could shoot my compound bow right now. It'll go right through my, there goes my plane. If I shoot my compound bow where it's set at right now, it'll go right through my Ridge Reaper target and through my garage door. I shot 2 arrows through my fucking garage door trying to sight that damn thing in. It kept going high and to the left. The first one I let loose went high and to the left, went right straight through the garage door, stripped the feathers off of it and all that other shit. Had to go out and buy new fletching and everything. Pain in the ass. Second one I shot went right through the fucking target, big ass bag target, and into the garage door. So I had to turn my poundage down a little bit. I don't need it that high. It'll go right through a fucking deer. And I've been looking at arrows too. I've been looking at LED knocks and things like that, like light arrows. And then there's another arrow out now that's got a GPS in it. So if you do hit a deer with it and the deer runs off with that arrow in its side, you can use your GPS on your iPhone to track the deer, or track the arrow and actually find it. Damn things are expensive as hell though. So yeah, early fall, I start thinking about tracking deer and deer hunting and going on one last romp with my dad down south. And that's going to slow this kind of thing down a little bit. But I got to get this done before, yeah, good for elephants. I got to get this thing done here before winter sets in, obviously, because we can't be out here hanging out in an open face shelter in the wintertime. And so future plans for this thing, we get the roof on, obviously. And then that's true, nature bound, what isn't? Everything's fucking expensive. It's like the better we get at production, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, the more efficient you are at producing a product, the more expensive you make it. Like, you make your job easier, but you charge your customers more. That's the greed is greed mindset. So we step back here a little bit. We got the stone wall up tonight. We got a stone floor in it. We're going to have a wood, cob, and grass roof on the top. The grass will actually come down to the beams, and then it'll be earth on up to that. And then when we get to the front part of this, I actually have this piece here cut out. This crooked ass piece right here is going to be the top of the door frame. I did not want it straight. I wanted it crooked. So that fits up in there. We'll get it tied in there. And then the front of this structure is going to be storybook cottage inspired. So it's going to look like a cottage, like a storybook cottage or a witch's cottage in a fairy tale type deal on the front. That's what we're planning out for the front face of it. Obviously, as a false front, it's, you know, it's going to be beams and stuff like that, but the way that I have it laid out and the way that the door is going to be in there and all of that stuff, it's going to look like a witch's cottage in the woods by the time I get it done. This entire build is built or inspired by fairy tale cottages. It's not inspired by like your traditional bushcraft build or survival shelter or anything like that. This is storybook shit, which is why if I turn you around here, don't mind the tripod, why we have this landscape for this particular build with the rings around it. We got 3 rings going around it and all of that. We're landscaping the entire area all the way down to the creek, all the way through the meadow back into a log where there's going to be a wall of thorns. Blackberry bushes are growing back there as we speak. So it's a bushcraft build, like we're using primitive technology to build this damn thing, but it's fairy tale inspired. It's inspired by the witch's cottage in the woods. So it's got a little bit more imagination to it than just going out and building some sort of manly fort. I want it to look like a storybook cottage by the time I get it done. And I want it to function like one too, which is why we put the stone floor in, why we put the stone wall in, fireplace with a chimney, rather than bringing in a wood burning stove or some shit like that, like you see guys doing. No, we're going to do everything old school with what's in the immediate vicinity. All of this stone I hauled up from the creek bed. The stone, the larger stone here on the floor, I dug up right out of the fucking ground. So everything as far as the structure goes has been gathered up within 50 yards of this one spot. We don't really have to travel. We don't have to bring anything in. I'm just using what's available here. So now the meadow, I seeded that meadow to produce the particular weeds that I wanted it to produce. Now I'm going through in there and I'm harvesting those weeds. And we'll go down here right quick for those of you who might have come in and not seen this. Turn that shit around again, and then you got the tripod on the side. We're doing that, the thatching for the roof down here. And this is sort of like, I come down here this morning, and these ferns and shit like that, I make sure I leave those ferns undisturbed. I want ferns, mosses, like you see on all the stones, and fungus growing around here, storybook style, you know. A lot of moss, a lot of ferns, a lot of fungus. There's our thatching that we got set up. We got to weave all that together, pull it nice and tight, but that's one panel that'll go on the roof. We need 6 of those. It took me like 4 hours to put that together, to cut all the weeds down, strip the leaves off of them, and weave them into that. And I still got to pull it tight and tie it down. A lot of work. I was going to show you guys something. Oh, coming on down here, keeping with the theme, I'd pick up a lot of wood and stuff like that around here, you know, just tidying up the place. But this is the kind of stuff that I leave undisturbed. Like, I do not want to be anywhere near this log while I'm working. I want to support this kind of growth. And I want to hinder other types of growth. So I get stuff like this growing along here all the time. Mosses, lichens, mushrooms, fungus. And that's why I'm building up these ridges the way that I'm doing it. Yes, I am. It's actually integrated into the Huntsman series. So you see all of these leaves? These are the leaves that I stripped off of the weeds to make our thatching. So I took the leaves, the piles of leaves, and instead of just leaving them lay there on the ground, I brought them up here and put them on the wood, so it helps hold moisture in the ground and it'll help that wood rot a little bit faster. Once all those nitrates and everything get into the ground, a lot more of this fungus is going to be able to thrive up here because it's got its food source. So all of these rings, these wooden rings that you see around here, they're basically going to be mushroom rings. That's what I'm building. I want this wood to decay over the winter. I want a lot of leaf litter and sticks, small twigs that'll break down really easy. Build up a really nitrogen-rich topsoil here, so mushrooms, fungus, things like that will thrive in these rings. In between the rings, we got a lot of moss-covered stone. I'm leaving all of that stone in here. I want this stony soil. So we have the nitrogen-rich soil there for our mushrooms to grow in rings around it, and you can see how it sort of half moons around our shelter. Our shelter's up there. This is the first ring, and then you come up here, we got some ice age boulders in here. This is the second ring where we got the ferns growing, and on top of this second ring I'll be lining it with more of the, you know, the wood and stuff like that, the litter that I pick up. I want it right here at the edge of this ring. I don't want to disturb the ferns, but I want a lot of wood laying along here for mosses and fungus to grow. Logs like this I leave undisturbed just because it's already got moss growing on it. So I need that to go to seed and sort of send spores over to these other rings. Same with this kind of thing here. Leave that there. Just because it's already decaying, it's already going to grow mushrooms and fungus inside it and on the outside of it. Come up here, and this is our outer ring, and this is where we're allowing the thorn bushes and things like that to grow really thick. So we have this outer wall, and then we got all the spiky stuff for these pines and things like that that we throw up here. So we have this wall of thorns with really spiky wood in it, but we're still integrating a lot of mosses and things like that, like up here at the top. So wood like that we'll bring up here just so this stuff releases the spores to cover everything else. So I'm recycling all of the garbage on the forest floor and putting it in very specific spots to get this whole area growing that way that I want it to grow. And then of course from up here, we're standing on top of the second ring right now, and you can see that path that I put in today with that blue shale. See how it's glowing against that green? Going right up to the build. So we'll put a little bit more blue in there, so we got that kind of blue ribbon going down through there. But that shit like that, that's just stuff that you don't see in normal bushcraft videos. But we're not making a normal bushcraft camp. We're making like fucking fairy tale shit. Stuff like that. That's what we want to leave undisturbed. That's moss and lichen growing together. Now, this is a symbiotic relationship right here. One cannot grow without the other. And if I was to move this stone and try to put it someplace else, chances are both species would die. So I leave that kind of thing undisturbed. I know what it is. I know this is a certain type of lichen, and I know this moss is feeding that. This is feeding that. It's going back and forth right there. This is sort of a little microcosm going on right here on this stone. I leave that alone. That's it. That's a whole different planet right there. What's going on with this stone is a microcosm. If I move it, I'm changing the environmental factors, and it could kill both species. So that's got to be left alone. But whenever I get to the landscape and stuff, like bringing these stones here up just for decorative purposes, these came from the creek bed. They have nothing growing on them yet, but come next summer, they might be covered with mosses and lichens too. It's a clean surface, and we got these cracks in here where they can get a foothold. The spores can get a foothold and then cover the rocks. And then using red, blue, white, different colored rocks. Same over here. Leaving the ferns completely undisturbed, leaving the roots and the mosses completely undisturbed, while I'm placing the rocks in there to prevent erosion of the bank. So I leave all of the ferns here, and I just tuck the rocks up in underneath them, but I leave enough room. You can see underneath there, it isn't anywhere near the plant itself. So it'll stop erosion, but the plant can still thrive, and it'll actually hold moisture in the ground a little bit better, so these should get bigger. Thinking about that kind of thing, whenever building a world like this, you're not going to see that anywhere but here. But I'm just inspired by different things. So it's not making me special or unique. Anybody could go out and kind of replicate their own fairy tale world. I'm just sharing how I'm building mine. It's probably kind of weird that a guy like me was, I was always obsessed with fairy tales. but the original versions of the fairy tales, not the Disney Channel versions. I took writing when I first got into college, creative writing, and wrote a lot of like fantasy-inspired, Tolkien-inspired works. Got out of writing and started filming. When I first started filming, I was just only making music videos, and then I got up the courage to actually, you know, just come out and talk and start sharing. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome whenever it's done. And like I said tonight earlier in the Huntsman episode, I don't think the big picture of what's happening here at this build is really going to be seen until next year. Next summer, once the shelter's built and all of the landscaping that I've done and all of the bending of nature. I'm not removing species, I'm just promoting some while discouraging others as far as the flora goes. Bringing out corn, apples, leaving my scent all over the place while there's corn and apples out here. It's bringing the wildlife in. It's acclimating the wildlife to my presence in the woods. So I'm hoping that next year I have the same relationship with this herd that I do HBs, that I can be sitting here at camp talking to you guys and the deer aren't going to hesitate to walk up. So it's going to take a long time, guys, to get the big picture of what's happening here. I can give you like my vision of it. I can give you a little clue as to what I'm trying to do here. Now, whether I can pull it off or not remains to be seen. We're doing pretty good as far as building goes. We're doing pretty good as far as manipulating the land and manipulating the forest goes. Bringing the wildlife in and actually having the forest respond to how we have this all set up with nitrogen-rich soil in certain places and rocky soil in other places, so we get rings of mushrooms, but those mushrooms aren't growing in the rocky places. It's insane the amount of detail that's going into this site, and it's not just the build itself. It's not just coming out here and sparking a fire and hanging out at camp and fixing something to eat and going home. I'm manipulating an entire 2 acres of this forest to a fairy tale world. So I'm hoping that whenever we come out here next summer and given the tour of this place, it's absolutely fucking unbelievable. I almost want to replicate the feel or the feeling that I had in that last couple of videos with HB and the herd in that glade. You had this beautiful deep green glade and the fawns down there playing. HB walked through there. The raccoons were playing with the deer. It looked like something out of a fucking Disney cartoon. It was retardedly Disney. But it was an epic experience. I'm so glad I was able to capture it on film, because nobody would have fucking believed me if I didn't capture it on film. And if I wasn't talking while I was filming it, you know, nobody would have believed that scene. And that's what I'm wanting to do here. Whenever this is all said and done, you guys have been with me from the time I laid the first stone. You guys seen every step of the way. We have it all chronicled right here on live streams. But next year, people that come to the channel and they see this for the first time are going to be blown the fuck away. That's what I want. I want that awe. I want that inspiration, and I want them dreaming again. Jay in the sticks. Better late than never. I'm out of scotch. That's it. That's the motivation behind this kind of a build and why I'm putting so much energy into it. I want, whenever we're done with this project, guys, and this has sort of been a community project since we're all doing it on a live stream, whenever they see the end product, they are just so awe-inspired that they want to get out there and they want to do something themselves. Working nights so your days just started. Man, I tell you what, if somebody offered me a 3rd shift job right now, I'd turn their fucking asses down. I need 1st shift. I can't be away from home and life without Yeah, nature, I was thinking, you know, that's the way I did it with HB. I need to pay a little more attention to this herd. For the most part, they stay in a thicket patch down on the south end of the forest. I did have a doe come up earlier today while I was working. She was on this back ridge back here, and she snorted at me and hauled off, and she was very vocal. Like, she did not like me down here. She was probably trying to come down the creek to get water. So I have a lot of work to do with the wildlife in this woods. I've been down here so focused on the build that I've kind of neglected the wildlife part. But that's okay. We got time for them. Oh, yeah? I'll tell you what. I would give anything to get me and HB face to face or in close proximity on film. And it's tricky because whenever I'm up there filming the deer, I normally stay in behind the tripod because it breaks up my pattern. And they don't like a lot of motion. So if I move to get in front of the camera where you can see me and the deer in the same shot, it's just risky. They don't like that kind of shit. I'm going to try to talk him into it, though. I would really love to have kind of a far away view of me and HB in the same scene. I did it with a couple of does, but I haven't done it with HB yet. I think me and HB deserve to be in the same damn fucking frame. Ugh. All the shit we've been through together. Ugh. Progress, guys. But I am going to have to wrap it up for the day. We're going to let that wall settle up. The heavy lifting, as far as the stone goes, the heavy lifting part, stone-wise, is done. So my next big task as far as this build goes is going to be wood processing. And I fucking hate cutting wood. Because I'm coming out here doing it with a cheap-ass little handsaw. Takes forever. Like, you know, 5-10 minutes just to cut through one log. And that's just one end of it. If I have to, you know, I try to cut it to length the first time. I only want to cut the damn log once. We'll be getting this thing closed in on the next, I'm hoping the next episode. Yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. I'm hoping our next live stream she's closed up. And the only thing that we have to do is that back triangle and the front face. But look at me, guys, I'm a fucking mess. Let me take one more look up there before I head out. But yeah, I'm hoping that the next 1 or 2 live streams, this thing is completely covered. The wall took a lot of time. Building stone walls with cob, that took a lot of time and a lot of back-breaking fucking work. Putting the stone floor in, a lot of fucking time and a lot of back-breaking fucking work. But yeah, the heavy lifting part's done. Now we just got to cut our beams. And we need enough to fill in our sides. Once we get the beams up there, we got to mix up more cob, and we're going to be filling in our creases with the cob after they're nice and fit. Of course, all that's going to be rearranged and moved and all that shit to where they all fit in there nice and tight. We'll get our fireplace in, our wood on the back, and then we can start our last bit for this series is going to be this front face. Once we get the front face done, I'll be pretty happy with that. So yeah, she's looking real good so far, and she's sturdy as a fucking rock, and she ain't even got a roof on her yet. And that frame is just rock solid because it's had so much time to settle. I love it. I think it's going to be a cozy spot this winter. Of course, this winter, you know, it'll all be done. We'll have a nice roaring fireplace in there. We'll have a bed in there. I'm actually thinking about taking stump back there that I got and breaking it down and making a chair and a table out of it to put on the inside. So yeah, it should be a good time hanging out there this winter. And then of course we could keep going with the thatching. See that little square right there? That's our grass thatching that we're putting together, weaving together for the roof. Got plenty of meadow over there to cut down yet. That's just one panel, and it took quite a bit of material to make that one panel, to be honest. A couple hours worth of work to cut that down, strip the leaves, and yeah, the smaller pieces we break down for our Eve. So anyway, guys, like I said, I'm gonna wrap it up. I appreciate everybody that came in to hang out with me for the finish up on this cob wall. We did not get it finished the last time we streamed, but we did get it finished tonight. We got our floor leveled out again. Got a lot of fucking work done at camp today, but I am dead dog tired. I probably need like 3 showers. 2 of them just to get the dirt loose, and another one's to rinse it all off. Got to turn my trail cam back on so we get some more footage of that. I actually think I might be pulling the trail cam out tonight. I was debating on pulling the trail cam out and taking it back up to HB. Yeah, maybe. Last minute decisions. I do have one more scene of next Friday's episode of Huntsman to get filmed this evening. I'm going to be filming the walkout to wrap that up. We're going to take a look around what we did here on the live stream to wrap up next week's episode of Huntsman. But if you catch next Friday night's episode of Huntsman, we go through all of the shit that, as far as getting materials and setting up, and how my thought process went into making the cob and the grass roof and all of that stuff. I cover all of that in next Friday night's episode. And then towards the end of the episode, they'll get to see what you guys saw right here live tonight. So, yep. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Appreciate everybody that came along with me, everybody that keeps coming along with me on this build. Next time we come out here, it's wood processing, getting this fucking roof on, and then we'll start thinking out our chimney. I'll be looking for some feedback on how I should go about adding the chimney. Of course, the fireplace ain't nothing but a fucking box of rocks, literally. But getting that chimney up on the back wall and up above the shelter where the smoke goes over top of the shelter, that's something that I need to put some thought into. I'm actually going to be looking for some feedback on that, how to make it safe where that chimney is not holding so much heat that it risks catching that grass roof on fire. So we're going to wrap it up there. Appreciate y'all. Tune in next Friday night. I don't know if I'll be releasing another video between now and next Friday. I got a shit ton of footage. I might be going up later this week to visit with HB again, and I would really love to get up there and track him down, get to sit down with him, and maybe live stream. But if I was to get with HB and live stream, it would be ad lib. Like it would be a Huntsman live stream from out of nowhere. So if you guys happen to be online, you want to jump in to see HB live, that's one of my goals. We're definitely going to be going up there visiting him again. That was just too cool to not take another chance and see if we could do it again. But yeah, I got to wrap it up today, guys. I'm dead dog fucking tired. I still got one more scene of Huntsman to do, and that's it. So like I said, thank y'all for coming with me, and I'll see you guys soon, okay?